The Fallen is the collective term given to the renegade Space Marines that split off from the Dark Angel Space Marine Legion 10,000 years ago at the end of the Horus Heresy, and have since become scattered throughout space and time. They are the secret enemy of the Unforgiven, a group containing the modern Dark Angels chapter and its successors. But were these fallen angels actually traitors? Was it in fact the Dark Angels who were swayed to treachery during the Horus Heresy, but never discovered, and hence hunt down the Fallen to prevent their secret from ever being exposed? Now, many would argue that yes, they were traitors due to the fact that many of the modern Fallen have either become true Chaos Space Marines or pirates and mercenaries for hire. But many of the Fallen are still Loyalists and continue to serve the Imperium in some way or another. A record of the apparent motivation for the actions of those Dark Angels who have become the Fallen exists. The Confession of Astalan. During the Great Crusade, Astalan was once a Dark Angels chapter master who aligned himself with Luther, the highest ranking member of the Legion behind Lionel Johnson himself, along with the other Dark Angels legionnaires stationed upon Caliban. When he was captured by the Dark Angels, he was interrogated by the interrogated chaplain Boreas. During the confession, Astalan claimed that he ordered the attack on the Lion's fleet as it approached Caliban after the Siege of Terror, with Luther's approval due to the Dark Angels on Caliban believing that their Primarch, and the men under his command, have fallen under the influence of the ruinous powers. Astalan also claimed that while Lionel Johnson was in the Forest of Caliban as a child, he had become tainted by chaos, and this taint had never truly disappeared. Astalan revealed that while Lionel Johnson had moved through the warp towards Terra to reinforce the Loyalist defence of the Imperial Palace, he had moved at what was believed to be a deliberately slow pace. The Lion was a peerless strategist never defeated in battle. He wasn't late. According to Astalan, he was stalling in order to see who would win. Astalan argued that Lionel Johnson would not have hesitated to join Horus and his traitorous forces if he would have been the ultimate victor in the conflict. By attacking Lionel Johnson's fleet, Astalan believed that the Dark Angels stationed upon Caliban, the Fallen, were doing the work of the Emperor. Astalan further claimed that Luther never fell under the sway of chaos, but was driven by his duty to the Emperor, fearing the treacherous nature of the Primarch. In the ensuing battle between the seemingly loyalist Lutherian angels and the supposedly traitorous Lionite angels, Luther attempted to negotiate with the Lion before any more Astartes died needlessly. Refusing to talk, Lionel Johnson hastily ordered his ships to bombard the planet and descend to crush them in combat. Astalan claimed that Luther fought his Primarch only as a last resort, and mortally wounded him only when his hand was forced to do so. The only thing he could not explain, however, was the warp storm that flung the Fallen far across the galaxy. This entire point of view from one of the Fallen could simply be a series of malicious lies, or just a warped and inaccurate view of the incident. Often, those who fall under the sway of chaos do not even realise they are serving its own ends. But at the end of the novel Angels of Darkness, Boreas asked for a transmission to be sent to a single solitary cell within the rock, simply stating, "You were right." This cell is either the one that holds Astalan, or potentially even Luther himself. This, from a loyal Dark Angel, throws into question the loyalty of the Dark Angels, the Fallen, and Lionel Johnson himself, for everything he has believed could potentially be a lie. But if the Fallen Angels who rebelled aren't in league with the Chaos Gods, and Luther himself did not become a Chaos Champion, then how could Luther, a man who was not even a true Astartes, as he was too old for the gene seed implantation process, manage to mortally wound a Primarch by his own hand? It's important to know that on Caliban, Luther had not only raised Lionel Johnson when the feral Primarch was discovered, but trained him as well. Luther was also one of the most skilled knights of his order, and was a master swordsman, and had even more combat experience than Lionel Johnson himself. By being the man who trained Lionel Johnson in the art of combat, Luther would know how to counter any blow the Lion attempted to land upon him, exploiting any opening that the Primarch would show. The possibility of a Primarch being killed by a non-Primarch was also touched up upon in the novel Talon of Horus, where Abaddon managed to slay a perfect clone of the Primarch Horus Lupercal, with all the strength and power of the real Horus, although admittedly Abaddon slew it after it had been riddled with bolt of fire beforehand. This would explain how Luther would be able to potentially best the Primarch in combat, although admittedly it doesn't explain away the warp storm that opened up and scattered the Fallen throughout space and time. There is also the fact that whenever large concentrations of the Fallen are around, or in Chaos Warbands, or whenever the enigmatic figure known as Cypher is located, the Dark Angels and their successor chapters tend to congregate in large numbers. Now it can be argued that these fallen angels may be Loyalists attempting to subvert chaos from within by drawing the Dark Angels' attention to where it is needed most, only to disappear once the Dark Angels arrive, leaving them free to battle the true threat to the Imperium. So it does seem possible that, at the very least, a percentage of the Fallen are loyal, and were always loyal, and while some would have turned to chaos, it would be for a similar reason that the Thousand Sons turned, purely to survive. However, all this may have in fact been rendered moot. The newest editions of the Horus Heresy book series have painted a picture of Lionel Johnson being a true loyalist, albeit an arrogant and paranoid one, with Luther actually turning traitor after all. Regardless, it's still interesting to speculate, especially with the Black Library's adage of everything is canon, but not everything is true. Regardless, it'll be up to you to decide. Thanks for watching.